Blink-182, Green Day, The Offspring, Sum 41, just a few where I was like, I cannot believe we are playing the same festival as all these bands.
It's the 1975. You covered Chocolate a little while ago. Why the 1975 Chocolate?
Why?
They're alive, doesn't matter. And you pick Blink-182. I'm like, yeah.
Hello, welcome to the Man Over Bob podcast. Today we're joined by Knuckle Puck. Thank you so much. All the way from Chicago, here in a kind of sunny Leeds today.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's okay. And starting off drinking the most American drink that really is available in the UK.
Hit us up.
Yeah,
We
White
would love
Claw.
sponsorship. Yeah.
Get on it. I was in America not too long ago and I was trying some of them. They taste better in America for some reason.
Really?
Do
You're
you not
absolutely
find
right.
that?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I don't know what it is, but last time we were here and we had them, they tasted a little worse. But this time they're a little closer to.
They've worked on the formula then. Yeah, they're getting there.
Exactly.
I think it's some kind of added chemicals or something.
I imagine it'll be something that's allowed over there that probably isn't allowed over
More
here.
than likely.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. Yep.
But the band recently released the 4th full-length LP, Losing What We Love. What's the reception been like for that? It's been out for a little while now, 6 months, obviously out on the road playing that. How does it feel? How's the audience taken to that one?
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, I was surprised when we first put it out and people were, saying a lot of really positive things about it, especially like the first single, The Tower. We actually played a show in Vegas, like a record shop show, and one of the kids there yelled out, "Knuckle Puck is good again." So I think that's a really good comment to go off of.
It's like the most backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty.
It's a promising sign, though, isn't it? Yeah. Going the right way.
And I know in the scene, you've toured with some massive bands throughout the years as well. I know like Citizen, Neck Deep, etc. What's your relationship like with some of those UK bands? Obviously, Neck Deep, at the end of this tour, the last day is at Ali Pali, which is, I think, I read somewhere that it's the biggest indoor show you've ever played.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to that one?
Definitely.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, Neck Deep are amazing. They're like literally one of my favourite bands.
And Ali Pali as a venue is like, it's, historically amazing in the UK. So I think
Yeah,
to
like
be
the
able to play
customs
that-
agent at Heathrow knew about it, which is not like a crazy thing, but she was like, "Oh yeah, Ellie Pally." I was like, "Oh, okay, we're playing like a well-known place."
Yeah. We gave her the full name, and she goes, "Oh, Ali Pally," and we were like, "You heard of it?
That's the one. Yeah.
No, it's big. Like I know Slipknot have played there and a bunch of other bands. And I bet, what's it like going into that, knowing it's the biggest show you've ever played? Are you kind of past the nerve stage now? Because I feel like every time, if I was in a band, every time I moved up levels, I'd get a little bit more nervous. Or are you past that point completely?
I haven't thought about it
I
at
haven't
all.
thought about it.
Not
bit,
even
yeah.
like a touch. I mean, we've thought about it, but I don't know if like I'm like, oh, I'm nervous because we played like that's not the norm of the amount of people we play to, but I don't know. I think at this point, like those kind of shows, like don't make me nervous. It makes me like I feel the most excited when we're playing in front of the most people that we have the opportunity to play in front of. So it's less of nerves thing and more like I'm excited to do this, to say that we did it.
I love that. And I would imagine one festival that probably had a massive crowd is When We Were Young. And I know you guys played that. What was that like? In the UK, there is no festival that's quite to that level in terms of like punk rock, pop punk, whatever genre you want to box people in. Obviously, there's Slam Dunk over here, which is relatively big, and that's an amazing festival. But When We Were Young, that lineup was stacked.
Insane.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I feel like we've never really played a festival quite like that. It felt like kind of a cross between Slam Dunk and Warped Tour. But yeah, the crowd was insane. There was we played kind of early on in the day, so our crowd wasn't even like the biggest throughout the day. The second day we played, I think we played a little bit later, so there were more people. But yeah, like watching Blink-182 and Green Day and The Offspring, I was right up front, and I looked behind me, and there'd just be so many people. It was kind of insane. And then we all stayed in Circus. It's the hotel, one of the hotels there, and I could see the festival from my hotel room, and just seeing all the people was like, wow. I honestly didn't know going into it that it was that big of a festival. So
I think it's one of those festivals that people from around the world will make, accommodations to get to, because just the lineup itself is phenomenal. Like you reeled off some bands there, Green Day, Blink, Offspring, on their own at a single festival. Bananas.
Yeah,
so good.
absolutely.
Yeah, I seen a drone shot actually of the Blink set. when they did it. I think it was When We Were Young themselves that put it out, and I was thinking, holy shit! Like even compared to some UK festivals like Reading and Leeds and stuff,
Right.
that it looked truly incredible. And this is also a half call out to the UK festival promoters to get a festival of that level with similar bands here, because over here it'd sell so well. And I wondered, on that kind of difference in crowds, obviously you've toured the UK many times before, how do you find the difference between UK crowds and US crowds? Is there a huge difference between them both?
I haven't noticed.
Like energy wise,
much, honestly.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I obviously like crowd size, like not talking about festivals. We like they'll be a little smaller here, but I feel like we come here so less often that they're maybe just as into our, performance as some of the crowds in the States. So that's cool. Yeah, but I honestly can't say there's a huge difference. Like,
I when I think of like shows here, I think of the last London show that we played. And that felt almost exactly like a Chicago show, like a show we would play at home.
So we do hear sometimes that, like, if you go to mainland Europe and play over there, the fans that are watching the shows are a lot more calm and kind of stand still and like respect the music and take it in.
It can be a little different.
You'd come over to the UK, and I mean the drinking culture in itself kind of, it gets a bit rambunctious. Everyone starts getting a bit crazy over here.
Everyone's screaming Yorkshire.
Yes, yeah. Have you ever had that where somebody was the first time you heard the Yorkshire chant? Did you know that people were saying Yorkshire?
Had no idea.
Or did you think, because we had it before, I can't remember who it was, who went to see a show, everyone started chanting Yorkshire, they had to stop the song and ask, what are you chanting? Because they thought people were saying your shit. They thought that's what the chant was.
That's identical to our first time hearing it too, yeah. Like I thought they were saying your shit.
Yeah.
Which they wouldn't be wrong. So, yeah.
I've got a bit of a tough question for you. A question we ask everyone who comes on the podcast. I mean, it's a fun one as well, but it definitely puts people on the spot. And it's for your dream festival, right? So we want a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday night headliner. The artist can be dead or alive. It could be literally anything of your dreams.
We get people making super groups of people that are deceased and alive now. Just absolutely anything that comes to the top of your head.
It doesn't have to be like huge bands. It can just be personal favorites, whatever you want.
I mean, for me, one of the days, Rage Against the Machine is going to be headlining.
Fantastic shout.
That's never going to happen. I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. But
I'm so disappointed. We had tickets to see them headline Leeds Festival, which is not far from here, and they dropped out like 2 weeks before.
Really?
So I've literally, in my adult life, never had the chance to see them.
And the problem with that was that they then were replaced with the 1975, which me personally, not a huge fan. Fantastic for
that
you,
was
as
great
Joe's
for me.
a
I
massive
love
fan. But I thought swapping Rage Against the Machine for the 1975, for people that bought tickets for that day.
yeah, just as many people will be excited about that as they would be pissed. So
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you got one headliner. We need two more. It is tough.
It's such a tough one.
help me out here.
I mean, shit. Okay. Okay. If it's like you said, it can be like not active artists. Not,
Yeah,
like,
not
even,
active.
Like deceased artists.
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta say the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense.
That's a great
Right?
shout.
Yeah.
Does that make me sound cool?
You're in
I
the,
fucking love them. I think it does.
in the UK, and saying the Beatles is the easiest win ever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, Good job. Thanks. Thank you. One time we were playing this game with 4 Years Strong, and I said, this was before Blink got back together, and I said Blink, and Alan from 4 Years Strong went like, what? like roasting me. I'm like, what? They're my favorite band. And he's like, it was the same premise too, like, Dead or Alive doesn't matter, and you pick Blink-182. I'm like, yeah, I love them.
When We Were Young did feel like that in a sense because Blink-182, Green Day, The Offspring, Sum 41, just a few where I was like, I cannot believe we are playing the same festival as all these bands. And like you said, the crowd, insane. So I don't, like, honestly, no answer I give you is going to be more accurate than like just all of those bands on that one day in Vegas. Like, to me, it kind of it kind of felt like a dream that whole weekend. So
yeah, for sure. I think when we did this, because we early on in the podcast, we kind of gave our own dream festival, and I think Blink was actually in both of ours. So whoever laughed at you is completely wrong, because I mean, to be fair though, we are literally the name of the podcast is Man Overboard, which I was scrambling to come up with a name, and I was going over my top tracks on Spotify, I think it was, and Man Overboard by Blink was one, and that wasn't a podcast already, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. That's the name straight away.
Hell yeah.
I absolutely loved it. But then on venues, obviously the festival ground in Vegas is massive. But I wondered if there's any venues you haven't played anywhere in the world that you'd love to play. Like if you could pick one day. We had Mother on a few weeks ago, and they picked the Colosseum at Rome as their like
the pyramids.
Oh, did they pick the pyramids?
The pyramids in Egypt. Yeah, the stage.
That's a
pyramids.
venue.
That was my reaction as well.
I had no idea.
No, we didn't either.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Red Rocks comes to mind in Colorado. It's like a big stone amphitheater with stone steps. Wembley would be sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
This isn't maybe it's because I was just at a show there, but Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. That would be really cool.
Yes.
Which I live right down the street from, so that would be cool.
I've got a Chicago question. Because I seen this the other week, and I thought it was the stupidest but most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was St. Patrick's Day not too long ago.
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
Does the river actually get dyed green every year?
Yes, absolutely.
Every year.
Yes. I don't back it. I don't back that. He's Irish. He probably disagrees.
I back it. It's kind of nice to look at.
I think it's a cover up. I think that's the week that everybody, all the corporations dump their garbage in the river, and it's a cover up.
That's a great theory, actually.
I don't disagree with that. That sounds logical.
It's like Simpsons movie vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
Where just dye it green and no one will notice anything's happened. No, but that's unbelievable. Like when I went to New York not long ago, and I swear there's more Irish bars in New York than there is in any city in England. Maybe like London would probably beat it just because
Ireland.
London. Yeah, I said obviously Ireland. I said England, not.
Were you in Manhattan? True. Where were you? Where you saying?
So I was staying like 10 minutes from Times Square.
Okay.
So maybe that was why there was quite a lot. But
do you like Irish bars? Like, were you excited about that?
I'm here for it to a certain extent. I think when you're English over there, it's like kind of a home comfort in a weird way. I can go in there and I know that I'm going to get a pint of Guinness and the food's probably going to be pretty safe. But
Chicago, I don't know for sure at all, but Chicago probably has just as much, if not more. Like, we're from like the south side of Chicago, which is like, it's a huge community of Irish Catholic people. Like the schools we went to is like a large percentage of them. You're Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure everybody in our band, well, no, that's not true, but a lot of Irish Catholic people, a lot of Irish bars. So if you're into that kind of thing, Chicago's got a lot of them.
Yeah, maybe I need to take a visit to Chicago.
Is it Dropkick Murphys? Are they from Chicago?
From Boston, I think.
Boston, yeah. I figured it was, yeah. And that's primary Irish, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you were on the south side of Chicago at a bar, there's at least 2 or 3 guys wearing a Dropkick Murphys shirt.
Right.
For sure,
Yeah, makes sense.
I wanted to ask about a song that you released a little while ago, and that's Breathe, which was with Derek from Mayday Parade. What was it like putting that together and working with him?
It was cool. I mean, we recorded it separately from Derek. Like, we just sent him the song, and then he did his part over it. So we weren't like actually together, nor did we like write it together. But yeah, I think he sent like over his original take. Maybe there was like one note, like, hey, try going up instead of down, something like something small like that. And then he pretty much just like crushed it right away.
Yeah. And then we did the video. Actually, Ian, the singer of Military Gun, directed and edited, I believe, that music video. I'm pretty sure he edited it, but yeah. And at the time, he was like telling us that he had just started the band too, and yeah, that whole experience was cool. Derek obviously flew out and was in the video for that. So yeah, it was a cool experience.
Yeah, that's sick.
Derek's a great guy.
I feel in the UK we don't get as many of these like pop punk crossover tours, if that makes sense. You guys have toured with Real Friends a bunch of times, and there's loads of other tours as well, like Citizen, etc. And I want to bring that to the UK, where it's like we had one recently that played Leeds. It was like State Champs, Simple Plan, and Mayday Parade, and that's such an elite lineup. But it's only just started happening over here, and like the Warped Tour wasn't in the UK for so long, and I've never got to see anything like that. So I'm waiting for it. And kind of on those other bands, I was wondering on the new record, was there anyone that you were listening to all the time that was maybe inspiring you a little bit, or you took some notes from to produce some of the songs?
Honestly, I mean, no. Honestly, like I feel like all the references and influences on that record were more bands like from like our youth that inspired it. Like, you know, for the Tower, it kind of has like the chord progression from Stockholm Syndrome, and at the time we were like, is this whack? Like, should we like change that? And I was personally kind of like, I think we should lean into it. Like, and I don't know, like bands like Blink and like even there's one song that like we kept referring to as the Under Oath song, and it was just like, I think if you can recognize like, oh, it sounds like this band in the past, maybe we would have shied away from that and been like, well, then that's, you know, we got to change that, or, you know, we have to cover up the influence. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm like I think leaning into it is kind of cool. Like, I don't know, if it reminds you of a specific song or a specific artist, like as long as you're not completely ripping it off, like blatantly ripping it off, like I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool when you're listening to music as well to be able to hear kind of a slight influence and you go, oh, that little riff there sounded a bit like so-and-so. And if it's a band that you also like, it just solidifies your like of that song then.
Totally, yeah.
Right.
Which is good.
If anything, it's a bit like an Easter egg within music.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
That's really
if you want
good.
to call it that.
And one thing that I noticed whilst researching for this episode is a cover of a band that Tim has already hated on, and it's the 1975. You covered Chocolate a little while ago. Why the 1975 Chocolate?
Why?
No, I absolutely love them. I went to see them in Madison Square Garden a couple months ago. They're like one of my top 3 bands. But
I agree. Yeah. I like them a lot.
Why did you pick that song?
I don't even remember.
Because there was like a list you had to choose from, and it was at the time so this had to have been like what, 2014, 2013 maybe.
Yeah.
So at the time it was like big radio songs. And that was the only one on there where we're like, I mean, we could realistically see ourselves doing that. And like, we like that band. And so just kind of landed on that one.
Yeah.
I think that those albums were definitely, you know, made for the time that they were released. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but it was very, I remember them coming out and listening to each one as they were being released and then going through the tracks. And I think it was kind of cool to, if you didn't want to accept them being pop songs, you could listen to them in this new pop punk version of it.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave you like a free pass to go, oh no, I will actually listen to Chocolate by 1975,
Yeah. Sure.
but the Knuckle Puck version.
Sure.
Of it.
Yeah.
So it was quite cool to have the freedom to then listen to those songs and not feel a bit, well, when you're younger, you kind of feel a need to listen to, you know, that kind of music. And
of course,
I'm not going to listen to pop music because it's in the charts. So having the freedom to do that was really good.
Thanks.
And I'd love for them to do something like that again, because I don't think there's been many collaborative projects of that kind of, you know, that level in recent years. So I think somebody should try and get something to that together again.
Well, Pure Noise, our record label, does the I don't know, what do they even call those compilations?
It's like the PBR one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it just like the PBR? Like, is there a name for it?
Probably. I don't remember the exact like name though.
But we covered a Third Eye Blind song for like Pure Noises. They do like the Punk Goes, basically, like their version of it. They don't call it that, but we covered a Third Eye Blind song for that last year. And I think we're gonna cover another song soon for like their next one. I don't know if we've decided on the song yet, but we've been kicking around. Do you guys listen to Noah Khan? You know him?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's really good.
We might cover like one of his songs. I don't know.
Yeah, he recently did a song with Sam Fender, who's like from Newcastle, which isn't too far from here, and that did really well. I mean, he's massive in the UK. To be honest, he went from I'd never heard of him to selling out arenas in the space of like 6 months, which is pretty wild for an international artist as well. But on those kind of pop punk cover albums, Neck Deep once did a Torn cover. On one of them, and I didn't realize that was, this is pretty naive from me as someone with a music podcast. I thought that was just the original Torn song for ages, because it must have come up on like my Spotify release radar or something when I was like 15, 16. And I found it, and for years I just thought that was the only thing. And I once forced one of my friends who's not really into pop punk or rock music in general to come to Slam Dunk, and for the whole day the only song that he actually knew was the Neck Deep Torn cover, which was pretty impressive, and he still had a good day.
That's
music,
good.
it's the vibe.
Is that that's not Michelle Branch, is it? Torn? Who sings
I'm not
that?
sure.
Isn't
Let me
it-
have a quick look.
I want to say Natalie something.
Yeah,
I think
But
it
I
is.
can't think of what it starts with a U, a last name, Umbrugle or something like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
But I feel like I might have just butchered it.
You literally got it exactly right. It's Natalie Imbruglia.
Wow.
Oh, I might have. Well,
I didn't butcher it.
when I say you got it exactly right, I might have said the name wrong as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's no guarantees
It's how
there.
it was written.
But I wondered.
Michelle Brand for sure.
we were close at least. After so many years on the road, I wondered if you have any amazing tour stories you can share with us. Because we've had some absolute bangers on the pod
We've
throughout
had
the
some
years.
belters. We had Wheatus on telling us about a time he got caught in a shootout with his trousers down.
A shootout?
Yeah.
Who said this?
Wheatus.
Brendan from
Brendan
Wheatus.
An actual shootout?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was some guy in an alleyway and a police officer having a shootout as he was getting changed outside the tour bus. He was halfway with his trousers around his ankles. The shootout started. He had to jump into the luggage compartment of the tour bus,
Oh my
close
God.
himself in, and wait for it to be over.
That's what I would. That's smart. That's probably what I would
it
do
is,
too.
right?
Really
Yeah.
smart.
I thought you meant like he was partaking.
No, that would have been.
If
even
you'd have
cooler.
admitted that, I don't think we'd have put that episode out for some reason. I would have at least had to mute that section.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got stories. I don't know how many of them are crazy or appropriate.
First year we did Warp, the bus generator caught on fire while we were on top of it. This guy just rips open the bus door. He's like, "Your bus is on fire!" And then we're like, "Back!" And then everyone ran out, and they were already like, with an extinguisher. That was pretty funny.
Well, at least they're on top of it. It was nearly a near-death experience.
Yeah, nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank, but I feel like there's so many mainly just like dumb little things. Like, I don't know.
It's one of those questions where
Suddenly
it's
I
like
can't remember anything.
Yeah.
But there'll also be some stories where you're like, I'm not going to say that one. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't think we
I
should
feel
be
like
going
you'll
into that
go
one.
you'll go downstairs and you'll go, well, I thought of this one, but I just couldn't say that on the internet. So.
As soon as we finish this, I'm gonna be like, I should have said that story. Yeah, I don't know. We might have to come back to this question.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I said one already.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a better memory than I do.
No, we'll move on anyway. If one comes on to your head, just be like, I've got the
out.
tour story. I'm ready for that now.
Got it.
But you have Take This to Your Grave by Fall Out Boy as one of your top 3 pop punk albums ever. I wondered what else makes that list as a band that's in the scene and making that type of music.
Because that's not really an album you hear being in the top lists of pop punk albums. So when you saw that, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I never had a huge Fall Out Boy phase. Like I do like them as a band. But I feel like you, John and Joe were like more
Yeah, definitely.
into that record.
Yeah.
Gotta say, like, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket or Untitled by Blink.
Yeah.
Even like honestly, like one of the first records I heard like in like this genre is probably like The Young and the Hopeless by Good Charlotte. That record's really good.
Catalyst.
yeah. Catalyst is dope. What are some other bands in the genre even? I feel like I like don't even I'm like so unaware of like pop punk bands these days that like
Like, what is the genre? We did a episode recently, and it's half just clickbaiting people on the internet, and it works very well. Where
It works.
We did
People
like
get really annoyed with opinions.
we ranked our top 10 pop punk albums of all time.
what are some on there? Like
I had An Emma of State was my number 1. I had Saves the Day was on there at some point.
We had Bleed American, Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Classic.
Yeah, there was
just listened to Clarity by Jimmy Eat World last night in the van all the way through. The live version from when they played during the pandemic. I had never heard it before, but that's one of my favorite records.
That was the live version?
It was like their
Really?
live streamed version they did, yeah.
Oh. I couldn't tell.
But like that's not even pop. Like Clarity by Jimmy Eat World. It's like that's like I don't
when
even
you're
know what that
veering
is. It's
away
not pop
from
punk,
it.
but
No. Yeah.
Bleed American for sure.
Well, we actually had comments saying Bleed American isn't pop
Yeah,
punk.
which
is
I
really
was
weird.
like, okay then.
These days, probably not. Like it's probably more rock than anything. But who
Back
cares?
then. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
I absolutely loved it. Tim had Bowling for Soup in there, and I tried grilling him for it because I was like, really? I was like,
Nothing wrong with Bowling for Soup. I'm telling you that.
right, but
No. Right. When we were young, when Blink 182 were playing, Bowling for Soup were playing at the same time, and they still had a huge ass crowd. And versus Blink, they've got to stand somewhere in the gods of.
My point wasn't that Bowling for Soup were bad. I was just saying he had him third as well. I was like, third best pop punk album ever.
I just really like it.
I,
I just love it. So
I'm waiting for the day when you roll back on that one and you're like, all right,
I'm not rolling it back. Never. I'm standing by it.
Nah, I mean, Bowling for Soup is a sus choice.
I mean, I would take Joe's side with this. I'm not hating.
That's
I'm
fine.
not hating.
That's fine. I've heard, I've heard worse. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I couldn't name one Bowling for Soup song. What's the one? What's the one? There you go. I was like Stacy's Mom. Which one was it? Yeah,
not even close.
There you go.
Well,
it's basically the same song.
Well, they covered Stacy's Mom, and then people think Bowling for Soup did it, but it was Fountains of Wayne initially, wasn't it?
But wait, no, I thought somebody else originally wrote Stacy's Mom. Wasn't it Bowling for Soup?
Fountains of Wayne did it initially, and then Bowling for Soup covered it later on, and then I think Bowling for Soup, because it was the more recent one, is then what people knew as Stacy's Mom.
Okay.
And the people that didn't listen to the Fountains of Wayne version just thought it was Bowling for Soup.
Okay.
And the same with 1985. That was actually SR71.
Yeah.
They wrote that first, and then they just covered. So really, Bowling for Soup is just a cover band.
So you've actually just completely backed up my point. You're like that you put their cover album at number one. Yeah. I was absolutely buzzing this week though, because The Story So Far announced a comeback, and they're one of my favourite bands in the world. And it's been like 6 years since they released an album.
Has it really been that long?
It's been 6 years, because I had them in my list. And I realised when I was researching for that episode, I was like, that's a long time for a band to go without making a new record. Yeah. And they just released 2 new singles for it as well, which are both incredible. One's a little bit more like indie, actually, as opposed.
Is that Letterman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I viewed that as a bit more of like indie rock. I mean, it's still slightly. This is what I mean with this genre thing.
Yeah, it's difficult nowadays.
We just asked Shoreline when they were on a couple minutes ago what it's like in Germany. In terms of, in the UK, it feels like people are very set on genres. Like you have, like I'm a rap fan, I'm a pop punk fan, or I'm a rock music fan, and people don't like blend over that much. What's it like in America? Do you find, are people starting to actually just like accept liking different genres now, or is it still very segregated?
I think it's like a very healthy mix across the board, and I think you can see that in like heavily punk and rock festivals like Riot Fest, but there's still like a lot of differences in the lineup there. It's not just like all like punk bands or rock bands for that matter. Like we were just talking about like recently, like a few years ago, like YMCA played, and they played to like a massive amount of people. And I'm sure, I don't know who else played that year, but like I'm sure it was also like Rise Against and like Smashing Pumpkins. But also you have like a festival like Lala, and there's like, thousands and thousands of people there, kind of just there for like music, it feels like. And I feel like that we also had that conversation somewhat recently too, where like people are just like psyched on like bands and just psyched on music in general, if that makes sense. And it's regardless of genre or whether you play a guitar through an amp or like you're just like playing beats and rapping over that.
Yeah. I think that's well said.
I think that's healthy too, because like in my brain growing up, I was so like black and white with it, and I was so like, if it's not this, I hate it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was one of those people who was like, if it's not alternative, I'll listen to the alternative version of that song, but otherwise,
Kiss FM or buzz.
No, I love it, and I've kind of always grown up in a weird household where I've listened to all types of different music. But I think the one album that kind of made me realize that I like loads of different genres, maybe even all at once, is Collision Course by Jay-Z and Linkin Park. I don't know if you know about the album.
Yeah,
but for me, growing up, that was like the one where I was like, oh wait, yeah, I do like rap and I do like rock, and then I just went and checked out both bands' entire discography after that, and I've always completely loved it. I think Linkin Park would be my pick for a Dream Festival.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel like you'd
definitely. Yeah,
that's a great pick.
I managed to see him. I think it was 2014 at Download. They did Hybrid Theory in full.
That's sick.
That was
that's my favorite Linkin Park record.
Yeah, when that was announced, I was like, well, I'm going to have to be there now, and I think that was just fantastic. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm always really disappointed with myself, because I remember when I was about 16, I just started going to like a couple concerts and stuff. And I had my first job. I was earning probably about the equivalent of $400 a month, which is absolutely nothing, because I was an apprentice, and in the UK you get paid like nothing for that. And it was very hard for me to decide what to spend my money on. And Linkin Park were playing not too far from here in Sheffield. I remember the decision in my head was like quarter of weed or Linkin Park. And I remember like sitting and I had the tickets up, and I was like, which one do I do?
Pros and con list.
Yeah. I was like, well, this is gonna.
One will be memorable. The other one will make me forget. So
Matrix style. Which pill?
Yeah.
And the problem is now when I look back at it, I chose the quarter of weed.
Wow. Oh, shameful.
Yeah, and Linkin Park, obviously Chester passed away, rest in peace, and I never got to see him.
Wow. Yeah. Me neither.
That's a bad decision.
That's
though,
a
isn't
terrible
it?
decision.
That's super.
Yeah,
I think I did a
that's a big
similar
L.
thing with like Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne tour. Or maybe it wasn't even, I don't know if it was the Watch the Throne tour or they just happened to be touring together again. But I picked something really stupid over it and then he's never toured the UK again since. So it's like, I've just completely given up on that front. But
I feel like you guys like have to be a bit more like careful with that. Cause like we're kind of spoiled. You could be like, you know, I bet they'll be back in like a year, you know, because they're from America.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sure you guys are like, fuck, I don't know when they're going to be back, you know?
yeah.
And I mean, with how our government is as well, and the amount of people that get banned from coming to the UK, they'll be here for one show in 2011, and then they can't come back until just very recently. And you think, fucking
Interesting,
what are we supposed to do about that?
Yep.
Yeah, I had that with Dominic Fike. He
Yes,
was like, I was a big fan of his from his first EP. Literally, he was banned from the UK. I think it was for like battery of a police officer in America, which is, you know, kind of valid, but
That's a serious thing.
yeah. Although there was like reasons behind it, and they managed to revoke the ban because he got like his charge dropped to something after 5 years. But he was one of those where he was in America all the time. I was seeing him play Coachella, etc., and he just wasn't allowed in the UK, which was definitely a sad day. But I wondered, to finish things off, if there's any bands you're bumping at the minute, anyone you're really into and listening to that you wanted to give a quick shout out to.
There's a band that I like a lot called Silly Goose, and they're sick.
Really
you know what I'm talking about. They like sound like Limp Bizkit. It's awesome.
So
on the complete other end of the spectrum, there's this artist called Holly Humberstone. Really into her. I don't know. What about you?
Steph Green, she's like a smaller country artist. There's this other artist called, it's on par with the name Silly Goose, Cut Worms. That I really like him a lot. He's playing with he's opening for Wilco at Salt Shed.
That's
over
cool.
the summer. I might go.
What kind of music is it?
Like, I don't know, country, alternative country music.
All right.
It's
You're
great,
on that
though.
country shit now.
I love it.
Damn.
I love it. Let's go Beyonce.
You've changed, man. You've changed.
Yeah. And what else I've been listening to? I don't know. The new, I gotta say, like the new Story songs, I love those songs. I think they're really, really great.
They're belting. And on that country vibe, it's very rare that I do this actually, but I'm going to give a shout out. There's an artist who has recently supported Holly Humberstone on her tour of like UK and Europe called Medium Build. A US artist. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I discovered him about a year ago, and he just keeps going from strength to strength.
That song "Say Hi," isn't that him?
I don't know that one,
No?
but
Okay.
it might be.
I could be completely wrong about that. I don't know.
One of us is.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really fun. Thanks, guys.
But no, if you don't know about Medium Build, check them out. And also check out Knuckle Puck's latest album, guys. Thanks so much for
Thank you
joining us
so
much.
and for your time.
Thank you for having us.